Hi, this is Alex Ducellier-Muller, and welcome to episode 4 of Dressage Schooling Exercises. This is Canter Elasticity using STurns. The purpose of our exercise today is to improve the quality of collection and the responsiveness in the canter. Today I'm riding Fern. She's a 6-year-old Tennessee Walker saddlebred cross, and you've met her before in episode 2. And actually, you've seen this warm-up clip before, and I apologize for that. I filmed 2 episodes in one day, and since I'm new at this, I didn't think about the fact that I needed to also film 2 warm-up segments for my introduction. So I apologize. Hopefully that won't happen again. Our exercise today involves very short spurts of canter medium down the long side, interspersed with what I call STurns. And I refer to STurns as a half 10-meter circle one way to a half 10-meter circle the other way. And in this particular instance, we'll be doing a simple change in between. So the frequent transitions and the relatively tight circles tend to help the quality of the collection. So without further ado, we'll go on into our exercise. I'm going to start on the left lead collected canter, and I'm going to canter through my short end. So right here, I'm concentrating on quite a bit of jump in the canter. I'm preparing for an S turn starting at H. So here's my half 10-meter circle left and a simple change. So ideally that simple change will happen as you face C. And then as I get straight here, I'm going to do a medium canter down the long side. So you really want to watch that the haunches don't come in when horses are weak. They tend to throw the haunches in during the lengthen. So after the medium, I'm doing the S turn with the simple change. And don't worry if your horse hollows a little bit. The point of this is to challenge the horse, to get them to lengthen the stride and then come back pretty crisply, because that's a fairly short medium. And then into an S turn again. And so Fern gets a little sassy sometimes when she thinks she's working really hard. Nothing too bad, but you can see her there, like, show me how very hard she's working. So sometimes I have to just give her a little tap with the whip, make sure she doesn't get stuck behind my leg. So when you finish the last S turn, that's the third S turn there, you're going to medium all the way down the long side just to kind of check your work. Like, will she keep going? And I'm actually quite happy with that medium. She came back pretty crisply. She's pretty straight. I am working fairly hard to keep the jump in the canter, but this is really hard work, so you can't really blame her. And here I'm going back into another S turn. Always making sure I'm straight for a moment in that walk step, pointed towards C, and the medium down the long side. So what I like about this is as I'm working, you can see Fern anticipating. That's okay. Don't worry about the simple changes not being perfect. That's where she gets a little stuck. She is a red mare after all. But what I like about this is you can see that as Fern does a medium down the long side, she's anticipating a bit the transition back. And that's actually a good thing. We like them to anticipate that transition back, so they're really on their toes and waiting. Here I'm waiting for Fern to give me a clear walk because she wanted to jog through that a little bit. And I've mentioned this, I think, in every episode, but if your horse starts to get stressed out by repeating the exercise over and over, do not repeat it over and over. Take your time, do something else, come back to it. You can see, like, Fern benefits from working this hard, but she also gets a little mentally like, I'm doing it. So you don't really have to work it this long. I do it for the video so you can see it over and over. And then here I've made it, significantly harder by holding the counter canter a little longer, but she was anticipating that walk transition, so I wanted to add it in. And then I've just added a full circle. So as always, you feel free to modify the exercises. Try not to modify them with the so much that you don't get the benefit of them, but feel free to modify if you feel like your horse needs a little additional work. So I'm holding the counter canter here. This is obviously significantly harder than second level. I actually think it's in the 4th level test. 4-3, I think. But you can see how nice and bouncy her canter gets. If I'm remembering correctly, we have a little bit of sass right here. She just ignored the canter transition, so she got a little spanking and then has to do it again there. And then she was quite prompt, so I'm not sure if you can hear me praise her. But I like what's happening to the canter here. She's getting really up in her shoulder, and she has a nice canter anyway. And then when I bring her back, I'm just making sure she's in front of my leg. So I like what's happening to the canter. You can really see her hip come under. You can see her bounce a bit, come up in the shoulder. And I like that walk transition. And I'm telling her to walk because I just really want her to get the walk clear for beat before we go back up to canter. And don't worry if your horse isn't quite that responsive. This exercise is actually really beneficial when it's not smooth, if that makes sense. So when the horses really struggle through it, you're actually getting quite a bit of benefit from it. So for instance, the horses that tend to grab the bit in the canter lengthen or the canter medium are really the ones that need that half 10-meter circle. So embrace the difficulty. That's when they're really getting benefit from it. It doesn't have to be pretty for sure. And so there, like, her shoulders really bouncy and up, and I'm deciding to ride out of the exercise because that was quite a bit of work for her little butt. But you can see how uphill, how bouncy, how expressive the canter has gotten. So it's one of my favorite exercises for horses that get a little flat in the canter or horses that want to grab the bit. Always be really generous with your walk breaks. If your horse needs it, give it. I'd much rather you take more walk breaks than less. As always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The PDF for this exercise is on the Patreon page. And have a good week.